Hey guys, Dennis here from DSP Advocates. I want to talk to you today about your rights and how to properly assert them. I think that this is a topic that's really relevant today in light of everything going on in the news. We have immigration raids, we have protests, at least in Los Angeles, we have the National Guard being deployed against protesters. So even though there's a million of these Know Your Rights resources circulating social media and the internet, I do believe that knowledge is power and that an informed public that knows their rights and how to properly assert them is a good thing. So this is not meant to be legal advice. This is meant to be purely educational. If you do need legal advice, go talk to an attorney about your specific circumstances and get the legal representation you need. Otherwise, let's get into it. Today, we'll be talking about the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments, as well as the First Amendment. Now, let's start with the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. What does this mean? This means that law enforcement, if they come knocking on your door, pull you over in your car, or stop you in the street, they cannot legally search your belongings without your consent unless they have probable cause that a crime has been committed or if they have a valid warrant. I say a valid warrant because we've heard stories of the Department of Homeland Security showing people warrants that have either the wrong name or the wrong address, or they're not even signed by a judge. Those warrants are not legally enforceable. They're not valid. Now, if you still allow law enforcement to search your property, even though they have an invalid warrant, they might say that you consented to the search. If at any point in time you realize you've unwittingly consented to a search, you can still revoke that consent at any time. You just need to clearly and unambiguously state to law enforcement, hey, I withdraw my consent. Please leave my property alone. If they don't, they are violating your Fourth Amendment right. Now, if law enforcement wants to stop you and ask you questions or ask for your ID, you can ask, are you free to go or are you being detained? Because if you're being detained, law enforcement needs to have a reasonable suspicion that a crime has been committed or is being committed. If they cannot articulate that crime, then again, they are violating your Fourth Amendment right. Now let's talk about the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment protects you against self-incrimination. You see this all the time in TV shows and movies, people saying, oh, I plead the Fifth. And what that means is you are asserting your Fifth Amendment right to not incriminate yourself. You can just say, if you're being questioned by police, especially if you're being arrested, I plead the Fifth. I'm asserting my Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, and I want my lawyer. And then shut up. Do not say anything in front of law enforcement until your attorney arrives. Now, let's talk about the Sixth Amendment. The Sixth Amendment protects you after you've been arrested. It says that you have a right to a speedy trial, you have a right to know what you've been charged with, and probably most importantly, you have a right to an attorney in a criminal trial. This means that even if you can't afford an attorney will be provided for you. This is why we have public defenders. So even if you're completely innocent, do not waive your right to an attorney. Get the competent legal counsel that will help you champion your rights. Now let's talk about the First Amendment because this is relevant for protests. The First Amendment gives you the freedom of speech. This includes the freedom to peacefully protest. Now, the government can regulate the time, manner, and place in which protests can occur and they have to be reasonable. And these typically relate to quasi-public spaces. So think about courthouses, legislative offices, and those regulations that restrict those that freedom has to be related to protecting other people's rights or to public safety. But for the most part, you have the right to peacefully protest in public spaces. And this also means you have the right to take pictures or to video record on your phone or on your camera, so long as you are not impeding law enforcement from doing their duty. So this means that law enforcement, again, Fourth Amendment, cannot make you show them what video or photos you've taken without your consent unless they have probable cause or a warrant. They also cannot make you delete those photos. Now let's talk about some practical tips to protect yourself and how to protect your rights. Let's say your rights are being violated, especially by law enforcement. This is not the time to get violent. This is not the time to get aggressive. There is not going to be a civil rights Superman flying across the sky that will swoop down and save you. No. Yes, you have rights, and yes, you can assert and protect them, but most often that takes place after the fact with the help of competent legal counsel. So, abide by law enforcement, even if you feel that they're violating civil rights. Peacefully comply and then get an attorney as soon as possible. Do not speak to them. Do not self-incriminate. Plead the fifth and get an attorney. Now, if you know that you are going to a protest, or if you're going to a demonstration and you want to protect yourself, think about it as if you were going on a hike or on a long journey, right? A long trip. You wouldn't do that without the proper preparations. Now, included in your proper preparations for a protest or a demonstration, you should include having an attorney on deck, whether that means you retain counsel so that in case you get arrested or your civil rights are violated, you can immediately call them to have your rights protected. Or if you can't afford to have an attorney on retainer, you look up the number and memorize the number for your local ACLU chapter or legal aid organization that provides free legal services for civil rights violations. These are ways that you can protect yourself in advance and be proactive in asserting your rights. So comply with law enforcement, stay peaceful, but also stay smart, stay strong, and protect your rights. That's all I have for you today. Be safe, be smart, stay strong.